you so much, David. Hi, everyone. I think majority of you know me personally, and in case you don't, or it was just online or somehow remotely, again, my name is ELIXIR. I'm the head of operations of ELIXIR, and I will make an introduction to the series of webinars called the ELIXIR Node of 2030. So this first one is literally setting the stage, reminding you a bit where we are at the moment, what are our plans in a few years' time on ELIXIR level. But the subsequent webinars will be on separate individual nodes. They will tell us about their developments, their plans, their challenges, their aspirations in the same period of the few years ahead. So I think we just dive in, show you the contents of today's session. So as I said, we will be reminded a bit where we are at the moment. It is good to be reminded what's been done, where we are now, and help that information, those experiences to fuel into our planning ahead, and identifying the gaps, seeing what should be enhanced, what wasn't covered at all, what should still be addressed, and so on. So we will dive into the current program. It covers 5-year period until 28. We will focus on the nodes part of the program, actually nodes and people, because people are nodes. However, nodes are everywhere. It is a reason why we focus on these specific tiers of the program, because they are horizontal and they support everything that's been done in the scientific program over 5 years. That's why the focus is on node and people parts of the program. The next part of today should focus on where should we be in a few years' time, and that is still covered by the program. It doesn't correspond completely with a very ambitious title of nodes of 2030. However, it is majority of that time, and then probably, as I mentioned, feeding into the new program a bit with our experiences of this one. The last bit is information about nodes, just going through what we collect at the hub, and that's all known to all of you. But hopefully, subsequent sessions with individual nodes will give us even more information and complement what we know, what we collect in the hub, which basically lies in the information that we are doing with you. So it's commission services, it's participation in platforms, communities, and so on and so forth, or the annual report input that is provided by the nodes. So this is our plan for today. And without further ado, let me dive into that immediately. So nodes in ELIXIR program. This is a slide that I think majority of you has seen at some point, and if you were with us at All Hands earlier this month in Thessaloniki, then you would have seen it again. It gives the overview of the current scientific programs. So everything that happens in ELIXIR happens connected to the scientific programs. This is the third one. It runs from 2024 until 28, and it has a slightly different structure compared to the previous ones. It evolves, the whole program evolves around 4 strategic tiers: science, technology, nodes, and people. And each of these tiers can be broken down into priorities. And further, those priorities are elaborated into ambitions. And those ambitions that you can see on the right-hand side actually fuel and advise our investments over 5 years. So these are areas of our ambitions, and for some of them, there are clear investments into commission services and can be linked directly to a single commission service or internal project in ELIXIR. However, what is important to note is that ELIXIR scientific program doesn't cover only internal investments. It is actually the overall plethora of activities, both funded internally and externally, that ELIXIR participates in. It also encompasses strategic, important engagement, like with EOSC nodes, with global partnerships, national, European research landscape, research infrastructures landscape, partnerships that ELIXIR is engaging in. I mentioned ELIXIR Nodes, but there can also be, I don't know, health data spaces and so on and so forth. So all of these initiatives are kind of encompassed by this program, and internal and external activities actually come as complementary compared to each other. They kind of build on each other. So we have, as I said, 4 science tiers, and again, as mentioned, we will dive into nodes and people tier. And just to repeat once again, that's because these are horizontal tiers. They actually support the work that is done by nodes, by people in nodes, in the science and technology tier. So if you wish, I wanted to use something that I actually said at the all hands. It's just kind of description how everything is connected. So science or scientific ideas feed into the technological developments, solutions for compute for the tools or data and so on that is produced in our platforms. So it's the delivery of life science infrastructure, and then all of that is powered by nodes operations. So let me just stop there with nodes operations and go into this overview of what is written in the scientific program. What are the priorities across the node tier? So not to read into all of this, because of course you can do it yourself, but just briefly, for node operations, obviously you all know because you are parts of nodes, and there are a lot of node coordinators being present at this call, which is great. So nodes function on so many different levels, not only national, but because they are embedded in national context, and that's the primary one. But they also function on obviously ELIXIR level, but then also European, and most of them also on the global level. So it means interactions with a lot of stakeholders, and to be able to do that in the highly efficient manner, there needs to be capacity, there needs to be expertise in the nodes. And actually this priority addresses building of that capacity in the nodes to actually be equipped to face all the challenges, internal and external, on every level of their functioning. And there's alignment of national research priorities and open science policies. And again, nodes start from their national context. And there are many countries in many node surroundings. There exist national policies on open science and research. However, some of them don't have it, and some of them have it, but they don't address resources and outputs that already exist in ELIXIR. So this priority actually kind of addresses the need to gather information, to be better prepared, to kind of show the not only efficiency but also importance of the node in the national context, but also international, as a key player in initiatives, and of course funding that goes along with that. Then we have industry and innovation, and again, with this priority, we are trying to boost and support nodes engagement and collaboration with industry. There are some instruments that are available not only through Commission services, through internal projects, but also an additional program that we run, which is capacity building and knowledge exchange, that has 2 instruments. It's industry engagement days and the knowledge exchange scheme. So both schemes, both instruments are available to the nodes to actually dive more deeper and more engaged in collaboration, in communication with industry nationally and if possible internationally. And finally is the impact and sustainability. Hugely important, of course. That allows us to exist, that allows ELIXIR to exist. It's not only about measuring impact and actually allowing nodes or boosting their capacity to measure impact and be guided by it, but it's also about recognizing how to communicate it externally to all the stakeholders, to, again, as mentioned in the open science bit, to show their importance and their relevance in the area and in the scientific domain. When it comes to sustainability, impact also helps showing that the funding sources, different funding sources can be tackled, can be used to actually sustain the node, not only the national funding or ELIXIR funding, but it also can be all kinds of other sources. So that's about driving operations behind, supporting science and technology. But to drive operations, you need people. You need excellent, knowledgeable, trained, skilled people who actually deliver the operations, not only the operations, but also the management of the nodes, the managerial activities, or technical and scientific activities. And finally, people are the ones who are our users, who are utilizing all the tools, data, services that we give them, at the same time creating a very, very diverse network of people in ELIXIR. So I think not going too much into all of this because it will be mentioned in activities that I will give you overview just in a few seconds. But it's the inclusion, it's diversity that we have, it's collaboration, and ultimately recognition of everything that's being done, with focus also on gender equality. That's been quite prominent in our activities in the last few years with the ELIT project that we will mention anyways. So that's why, as I said, just to go back again to the beginning, that's why these tiers are actually horizontal, and again they support everything that is delivered in science and technology. So again, a reminder. So these are internal projects that are happening at the moment. Again, majority of you are in them, at least in one, and probably in many. So we have 3 in the science area, and they correspond directly to the priority areas, to ambitions that we mentioned in the beginning. So we have cellular molecular research, we have biodiversity, food security and pathogens, and human data and translational research. In technology, we have a commission service for each platform, so 5 of them. And on top of them, there is the maintenance level. There are infrastructure services, commission service, that is dealing with important infrastructure services like AI, like Beacon. And we've just actually added Beacon as another important service that needs to be maintained and sustained, and amendment just went through at the last board. And then we have 4 commission services happening in nodes and people, and they correspond directly to the priorities and ambitions that we just went through. On top of everything, but parts of the people tier, we have, again, as mentioned, capacity building and knowledge exchange program, which functions on the level of annual calls. So this is the internal bit of the program, but as said, there's the whole external world of activities and initiatives that is complementary to what is going on internally. So Node Support Commission Service, Lucy Poveda and David Dolan are co-leads of this one. It encompasses all the nodes, all node coordinators are actually participating in this one. And as mentioned, and you can see through the work packages, it actually corresponds directly to the ambitions that are mentioned for the nodes tier. So the work spans over 5 work packages, and first one is, of course, coordination and management. However, the rest 4 are directly corresponding to priorities by making them alive, turning them into activities and outputs that we want to achieve. And the ultimate aim is, of course, to make our nodes capable and at their best to function in federated research infrastructure. So work package 2 is dealing with metrics of node diversity. Our nodes are very, very different in their size, in their maturity, in their engagement and capacity to actually be engaged with ELIXIR and wider. So it also means identifying strengths, identifying pitfalls, and try to identify impact on node activity that is brought to them through the push or dynamic landscape of initiatives like the GDI or EOSC that is kind of thrusted upon us to be in. We should also align with relevant research infrastructures, especially sister infrastructures in the domain. So that is also a bit of work that is going on in there. For work package 3, it's about communicating the worth, the capability, the significance of nodes. You will remember the open science policy and research policies nationally. So this work package is about availability of information and increasing the preparedness of nodes to respond and to react and seize the opportunity for funding and engagement not only on national, but also on European and international level. One of the main outputs of this work package would be the knowledge base, which is called the Bank of Useful Text on ELIXIR Nodes, and it corresponds to some other bits and pieces of work that are being done with external funding, like the STEERS project, especially work package 4. And then work package 4 in Node Support Commission Service is about references to ELIXIR, its outputs, its resources, services, national open science and research data management policies, and also it demonstrates the impact of ELIXIR on European and national open science, because not only tracks it, it also boosts the ability of nodes to do the tracking themselves and kind of prove their significance. And finally, it's the industry engagement and sustainability, and it's of course all about the strategies of engaging with the industrial sector and mapping resources and services to be exploited in collaboration with them. So that's on the Node Support Commission Service, and I hope you can see the links to the priorities and ambitions that were mentioned before, and how boosting capacity of nodes to operate in federated research infrastructure can actually contribute to delivering excellent science in the scientific and technology tiers. Then we go to people who make nodes, and People Pulse Commission Service, led by Luciana Peixoto and Irena Maus. Irena Maus is on the call, is about boosting people, especially in the middle management levels in ELIXIR, because excellent science actually depends on supporting people in infrastructure in the nodes. So there is a whole range of activities over, again, 4 packages that is trying to invest in a way in different protocols, processes, documentation, tools that will help people function at their best and as fast as possible in something so complex as ELIXIR. So therefore, work package 2 is all about onboarding practices, which, as I said, for something as complex as ELIXIR is, it can prove to be quite challenging. So this work package and people working on it are already collecting the best practices from some of the nodes who are bigger, who are more mature, who've been doing this for quite some time and have some practices to share. So in the end, there will be a common protocol that each node can use and adjust to their own needs. Again, size, maturity, and national context in which they operate. Then you have work package 3. Again, parts of it have been widely announced and recognized as something that's been done. So it's specification of ELIXIR roles, especially parts of governance roles, like coordination roles, training, node coordinators, and technical coordinators, which have grown in significance and contribution to operations of the node over the past few years, and that especially applies to node coordinators. So the time has come to try to specify their roles and exactly what they are doing and how they contribute to the daily operations of the node, but as well as strategic development. So that's been done. We are almost at the end of the process. These groups have gone through first drafts, then communication within specific groups, then sharing it together at the Node Triangle meeting that was held in Lisbon in March this year, to go through the heads of nodes. We asked for their opinion on it, and now the descriptions are again back with the individual groups for final polishing, and those descriptions will make their way to the handbook of operations of ELIXIR that is going to be updated this year again, and the process is about to start. Then work package 4, we have ELIXIR Training in Management, which is the ELITMA program. It started in one of the previous EC projects. It continues also at the moment in the STEERS project, but bits and pieces, especially the rollout and upgrade of the existing modules like the governance or research data management, is being done as part of this work package in People Pulse project. And of course, we are working on development of some of the new modules as well. And finally, it's professional development. In impact, we are seeing new roles emerging in some of our nodes. For example, the impact coordinator, which is typical, reported by Italy, is one part that is being done. And again, equipping nodes to measure impact, to understand impact, and communicate it further to important stakeholders. So that's the People Pulse. Train the Trainer Commission Service is another one under the People tier. And as the title says, it's about the training, obviously, to boost training in ELIXIR, but also to train the next generation of trainers and use the multiplying effect to actually kind of trickle the training practices into the nodes. The assumption for this, the main assumption for this commission service is that all experts are actually in a way trainers, and by developing their skills, boosting their capacity to actually do so, we can utilize them more and make them, as I said, train another generation in their specific domain of expertise. Again, the work is organized over work packages. There's just one less here. There are 3 content work packages, and they very closely collaborate with training platform, so in the technical tier, and they, in addressing the overall priorities like upskilling the technical and scientific staff, and content is provided in those tiers, or providing training for operational and managerial stuff in ELIXIR. They actually, as I said, again, support all the other tiers. Last not least, and that, again, I mentioned it in the beginning, is the ELIT project. So it is about gender equality, or boosting women in middle management to actually take up senior leadership roles, to break the glass ceiling, and bring ELIXIR another perspective, another set of skills that is needed in leadership positions. It is all about mentorship. It's about mentor-mentee relationship, but it is also about peer mentoring. And it stemmed from an initiative that started with the Spanish node, Bioinfo for Women, and then it kind of trickled into the ELIT pilot project in the previous program, which happened to be extremely successful, and take-up was really, really good. It ended in December 24, and then we took it further in this program with the ELIT second edition framework. It revolves around, as I mentioned, three pillars, so leadership training, mentor-mentee, peer mentoring, and currently it's on the way, and as far as I'm aware, the mentors and mentees have been selected, and peer mentoring sessions have started in all hands, so it will be happening for the next 2 years. So apart from being horizontal, which was mentioned so many times already, there is actually the whole ecosystem, and it stems from horizontal and supporting nature of these 2 strategic tiers of the ELIXIR program. So you can see that the 4 commission services that we just went through are at the core of kind of activities and developments that are happening. However, there are very clear links to other initiatives in ELIXIR, and as I mentioned again, there is complementarity between the internal work and external work, and that's exactly how it should be. So Node and People Commission Services very clearly communicate with STEERS, EC-funded project, which is an infradev project, so it's about infrastructure development, and it is about ELIXIR. So there is, for example, task 1.5, which is a gender equality plan, and obviously the links to ELIT are quite clear. Or you have strengthening ELIXIR nodes, their capacity for operations and for managerial operational stuff, building, upskilling. So that's obviously node support commission service. And then you have ELITMA, in People Pulse, which corresponds to previous developments, and again in STEERS there are bits and pieces of new modules being developed, and then the training platform, which has a number of outputs that People Trainer Commission Service corresponds to and closely actually collaborates with. in a bit more detail. This is a very, very nice representation made by the nodes about strong synergies between within the ecosystem and between the projects and initiatives internally and externally, and between the structures, because obviously platforms are here. So again, you can see steers in orange, how the tasks in steers projects, which is EC funded, correspond to different tasks and work packages within the people and node tiers, and of course training platform with clear links to train the trainer commission service. This will be shared with you, so you will have opportunities to take a look into details. But these activities are not overlapping. There are just a few redundancies. They're really mostly complementary and converging the activities. So about planning ahead, because we are reaching the midpoint of the program, and we have already started exchanging ideas, gathering ideas about 27 and 28, which are the 2 last years of the current program. So the program has been divided into 2 funding cycles for easiness. So majority of ongoing projects, all 13 of them, internally are running from 24 to the end of 26. And then there will be the last part of the program over 27, 28, which means 24 months until the end of the current program. The midpoint is in June 26, because then there will be a midterm review of the program, and that's kind of a milestone, before the review and after the review, what do we do and how that feeds into the rest of the program. So the planning has started. Node and people, participants and co-leads of the commission services have met in the face-to-face meeting that also happened in Lisbon. It was collocated with Triangle, and sat down, had a lengthy workshop to actually discuss the end of the first funding phase and how are we addressing the priorities? Are there any gaps? Is there anything new that has emerged and should be addressed? Because we are functioning in an extremely dynamic landscape and environment, and there are challenges coming at us all the time, and we need to be very agile and adjust. So what gaps exist in the current program that should be targeted in the second phase, and how are we dealing with that? On the left-hand side, you can see the current commission services. You can see the outputs that they're working on that should be finalized by the end of 26, and hopefully be taken up by the community, then become an outcome and have an impact, while addressing strategic priorities area in the bottom part with all that work. So what is left? What still needs to be addressed? So obviously, as I mentioned, the evolving landscape, it's not only for ELIXIR in general, it's of course for the nodes. Nodes are ELIXIR. So there are a number of topics that have already kind of been considered, that have been put on the list, and they're being refined as we speak by the partnerships in nodes and people tiers, and then the wider consultation will be open very, very soon for other tiers to tell us what they want, how we can support them better. The process actually has already started at the all hands by having together mini symposium exactly on the topic, how we can support scientific and technology tier. So there are a number of topics. You can see some of them, and the way it could be kind of what may need to be included in the future, as for the EOS, which is just one example, is actually that nodes need to kind of be better equipped to, as I said, respond to all the external challenges. The connections with EOS on national but also thematic nodes. The national movements around this are quite strong, and then there are the complementing movements on the European research infrastructures level. So to put that all together and have a position, it's quite complex. And then, of course, there could be connections with national nodes of common European data space and European health data space, and so on and so forth. So all of these topics, although they seem quite simple, it's barely aligned, but they're actually quite complex in their nature, and it will take quite a lot of time and thinking how to encompass them in the last part of the program with limited time. It's only 24 months, and with, of course, limited funding. So there is already a timeline, and it's separated into 2 slides for easiness of understanding. I hope that will be achieved. In terms of preparation for Node and People activities, there has been a coordination meeting, the triangle meeting that happened in Lisbon in March. So that was the first brainstorming round. It was very raw ideas gathered across all the participants that were there, all the partnerships, regardless of the topic or the commission service, that we were all in the same room, just brainstorming what else can we do, what we haven't done, what we haven't done enough of. Then in June, there was the all hands ELIXIR meeting, and there was a mini symposium called Building Bridges about Node and People development. And it was the purpose of that mini symposium was to actually gather additional ideas. Although it's just the first round, it's the first input from technology and science tier for the last part of the program. And we actually got a very, very nice set of ideas from our guests. It was Serena Scollin. She is leading Human Data and Translational Research Commission Service, and she is also coordinating the science tier with Peter McCollum, who was presenting Biodiversity, Food Security and Pathogens project, and their needs about training or upskilling people or capacity building and so on and so forth. And then there was Silvia Tossato representing the compute platform and giving us this technology angle and outlook on the needs from the people and Node tier. Then the next part that is actually happening right now is that in the next few months, from June to October, there should be a kind of feasibility check and further elaboration of gathered ideas and a lot of discussions, not only without partnerships, but also wider consultation with other tiers that will happen sometime until the end of the year. There should be a program TC announcement and a workshop that should happen sometime, hopefully in October or November, open to everyone to actually come and try to contribute, show interest, sign up to be part of the preparation of the new project plans. And then an important bit, in June 26, there will be the ELIXIR Scientific Advisory Board's program midterm review. So this is something that has happened before in each program, and it should happen, of course, with this one. So Scientific Advisory Board will take a look at the outputs that we've prepared, achieved so far, take a look at the strategic direction that the program prescribed, and advise us whether that was successful, whether we are still on track. Do we correspond not only with ELIXIR scientific program, but the developments in the, as I said, very dynamic environment that we operate in? Is it still relevant what we want to do? Is it still significant? Does it seem that it will have the expected impact? So they will advise us on the previous period and whether we still hold direction, but their advice can also include the suggestions for the last bit of the program and possibly even beyond the program, depending on what we will be able to do. So this moment in time, this milestone is extremely important. It advises on the work already done, but also about the rest of the program, and it's extremely valuable. So after that, that's actually the preparation bit. And it will happen, as I said, the SAB will happen in June. So we will have a few months from June to August to actually take into account what SAB has told us, their suggestions, their advices for the current ongoing commission services that will end in the end of 26. So there is still time to change direction if needed, but then also inform the preparation of the new project plans for the last bit of the program. And then we come into a very formal bit, which are consultations and approval. So with SAB, we were in June 26, and then in August sometime in August, there should be submission of project plans to the hub for the last bit of the program. In September and mid-September, there is always Heads of Nodes committee meeting, and this Heads of Nodes committee meeting should be used to consult with Heads of Nodes about the draft project plans. After they provide their suggestions and project plans are amended accordingly, in late October, November, there is the Autumn ELIXIR board, and they approve, they will go through the process of approval of the commission services with ELIXIR nodes. If approved, the new commission services should start in January, and that's how the kind of the last bit of this program from 24 to 28 will commence. It is very much advisable that those commission services start in January because there is only 24 months at hand. So my guess is that majority of them will actually start in January and try to use the whole of the remaining time. Now the last bit, what we know about the nodes. So this is about the engagement in the program. Of course, there is a lot more to be said about scientific theory, the content of science and technology being made alive through this program, and then complementary EC activities. But it is more about like the core capability and skills of nodes to actually carry it out. We gather at the hub a lot of information about nodes. We have them from our operational data, like participation in commission services, and I mentioned in the beginning, platforms, communities, co-leads of those. We have all of that registered. I also have the collaboration agreement oversight group. It's the famous COC form that is released, shared with the nodes every autumn, and then we gather all kinds of information of that nature. Is there an SAB for the node in place, LC policy, and things like that. And then there are annual reports which start gathering information every year. I think it's around November, and deadline is in the end of January. So it's done in a year that follows for the previous one. And there are new data that's being collected from 24. So for COC form, we added gender equality, and funding sources. So there are checkboxes. We want to know a bit more about the sustainability of nodes and if there are any problems with that. And then annual report also added new bits of information like the node size and a number of people that are in the nodes. So every now and then the information that we want to gather from node is being updated, and there is more to be shared. And of course, nodes change quite rapidly. So I think with this, I'm going to end this presentation. I hope it helped kind of position in your head the overall landscape of nodes in the program as much as it could, especially when it comes to development of nodes operationally, managerially, staff-wise. And this is, of course, the work in progress, and it's very collaborative. I mean, you are the authors of all of this. Nodes are, people are. So thank you very much, and if there are any questions, I'm open to receive.